So I really like this one. Day 20, March Madness, end of the day. It's 4:41. I've been at this desk since 5 a.m. So if I seem drawn out, I am. But I promised you 25 days of obstacle and objection training, and I'm a man of my word. So we're worried about hidden cost or price changes. Let me talk about this really quickly. It's just super important. Here's the reason why. Your distributors from SRS and Beacon and your supply houses, maybe ABC, depends what industry you're in, have just last week and maybe the prior week before sent out new pricing for next quarter. Very few of them that I've seen online are decreasing their prices. Tariffs, economy, rising costs, cost of goods, etc. So if your consumers are worried about prices going up, they should be. You should tell them. You should be transparent. You should bring your letters from your distributors explaining to them how prices are going up. However, if you're at the job and you're bidding the job and you have price protection, this gives you a great opportunity to close the job if they're worried. Financing helps protect the consumer and you, the contractor, on getting paid. It's good for both parties. Why? Because unsecured funds are closed-loop funds that get paid directly to the contractor. Contractors with us may be getting 50% progress pay. So if we can advance fund 50% of the project to the contractor's ACH, we're winning and we're protecting. The consumer also protects themselves because at the end is when they do the final completion of the other 50%. So there's protection for the consumer and the contractor when using financing. So let's dig into this a little bit now that I've done my mini 2-minute rant. First, we have to understand the objection or the obstacle. I don't want to get hit with unexpected costs later on. Neither do I. That's why we have a contract, Mrs. Smith. However, change orders do occur, but it's not change orders on what's happening in the marketplace. It's on what happens when we rip the deck off and we see rotted OSB, right? Contractors always add extra charges after the work starts. Not if that's not what your contract states. So be clear, be precise, read the contract. Tell them that this is a fixed cost of this, of course, change orders we just discussed. What if the price changes halfway through the project? Let me flip that script. What if you decide that you want more or better? We see the amount of decks. People come here for deck financing and they build a $30,000 deck. And then they're like, oh no, I want the hibachi built-in grill, this support beam bracket, super duper slooper stooper. And now I want to spend 40. Well, that's beautiful because Mrs. Smith, our financing allows you to go all the way up to 50,000. You're pre-approved. Remember, inside your portal, you have max financing. So it allows them to upgrade and upsell themselves. Now, contractor's not just going to change the price from 30 to 40 in the bid. The financing helps protect this just in case there's any increases or add-ons that the consumer wants. I'm afraid of hidden fees that aren't included in the estimate. We should be. There shouldn't be any hidden fees. This isn't an objection or an obstacle. This is stuff that you have to educate your consumers on and make sure that they're understanding what the contract means. So take the time to explain to them line by line that you have price protection and how change orders do work in the process of something changing in the project. What the homeowner is thinking. That's what they're feeling. Here's what they're thinking. I don't want to get hit with unexpected costs later. Who does? Contractors always add extra charges after the work starts. What I would do is talk to them about that. Ask them, when has this happened before? What was the project like? Who did you work with? Tell me what you liked or didn't like about that contractor. And then assure them on your value stack selling system and on the moral compass that you work that you don't do this to people. Put it in writing. What if the price changes halfway through the project? I'm afraid of hidden fees that aren't included. So you have to understand it. What does it really mean? They've heard horror stories. What horror stories have you heard? They don't fully trust the quoted price as the final cost. This comes to you explaining your contract. They assume every project runs into unexpected costs. Again, you have to dive down and find out specifically what they're talking about. They assume Every project runs into unexpected cost. You have to define what they're talking about. Now, when Tiffany and I did our construction project and our renovation project in Florida, this happened to us. Do you know why? The GC was horrible. Do you know who the GC was? Me. I GC'd the project and I subbed it out. So was I prepared for when the flooring guys came out and had to do extra cement leveling? No. Was I prepared for when I found out that there was a 3-inch drop going from the kitchen to the laundry room and I had to replace the flooring in there and that was an extra $1,500? No. I was a horrible GC. But maybe if there was a good general contractor on the job, they would have explained to me that these things do happen, the unexpected. But you have to communicate clearly to your property owners that this may happen and what the process is if that does happen. And you just have to reassure them that they're not going to be overcharged. It's just all about your contract. That's what this entire thing is about. So the key talking points when it comes to financing. Guaranteed pricing equals no surprises. We provide a detailed upfront estimate that outlines all costs so there's no surprises along the way. Transparent breakdowns builds trust. We go over all details of your estimate so you know exactly what's included before we start and what's not included. If anything unexpected does arise, we'll discuss the options, change orders before moving forward. Nothing happens without your approval. But you most certainly don't want to stop the roofing project if you're ripping off the deck and you're like, holy cow, we've got rotted OSB, the timber's molded. There's you got to take out all the insulation and replace that. You've got to be prepared. The beautiful thing about financing is if they're pre-approved, you just simply go into the portal and turn that volume swip up and go from 20 to 25. You lock in the cost with financing. Oh, that's one beautiful thing. They don't have to worry about the interest rate fluctuation because everything we have here is fixed. There's no variables. So financing allows you to lock in today's pricing and rates and payments and lock it in for this entire project for the $25,000. Would it be great to secure your project now instead of risking higher interest rates and price increases in the future that are coming? By the way, they're coming. Warranties and workmanship guarantees. You guys have to read your contracts. You have to make sure that the consumer doesn't have any questions remaining. Proven scripts. Again, scripts. They're for you to take, for you to role play, and for you to build into your business. This isn't for me to tell you exactly what to say. You know this probably better than me because you're the ones out there selling your contract day in and day out. But just read through these. If you need to make any adjustments to them, let me look at script 4 here. The financing protection approach. By using financing, you're protecting yourself from the unexpected price increases. Even if costs rise in the future, your rate stays locked in. There's no prepayment penalty. We're locking in the 9.99 20-year term and no prepayment penalty. Let's get this thing going today before the rates might even increase. So, good training. This training is a lot about your contract and how you handle change orders and how you pitch your company and how you do things different and how you're on the up and up. It's more about that than financing. However, the financing can help protect both of you in the process. In case your customer feels like we're worried about hidden costs or price changes, make sure that you cover this in your sales approach. Have a blessed day. We'll see you at day 21, probably tomorrow.